Hey there, it's Tony from Wealthfront. I work here, and I love talking everything money. I talk to clients every day about topics that I'd love to share with more people. So that's why, going forward, we're gonna be here giving you the content we think everyone should and deserves to know. Sam, what do college seniors wanna know more about when it comes to money?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Tony. Really appreciate it. I actually polled a couple of my friends and asked, what do they want to know about finance? And the first question I got has to do with budgeting. So I know a lot of people understand that it's important to build and stick to a budget, especially in college and just after college. But they don't even really know where to start. So can you walk us through how to think about building a budget?
Sure. So when I heard the word budget when I was out of college, I thought it was maybe some like old school spreadsheet, maybe some handwritten thing that you'd sit down and write out every expense. And none of us are gonna do that. I didn't do it, I'm 34, college seniors are not gonna do that. What I do suggest is one, getting away from more of the traditional type thinking. There's a 50-30-20 rule out there, where it's you save a certain amount, you spend a certain amount. Personally, I think when you stick to that rigidity, it doesn't leave flexibility that life really introduces.
Right.
So I'd recommend remembering that a budget is different for every person. With that said, I would recommend thinking about when you get that first job offer. Factor in taxes, factor in deductions, and figure out exactly how much is gonna end up in your bank account every single paycheck. Not a lot of people do it, but it's very different than what actually your gross salary is. So look at what the number is. Let's call it $2,000 maybe, let's say. Just throw a random number out there. That's what ends up in your paycheck every other week. Then when you do that, when you know how much money you're actually making after tax and after withholdings, then I'd say, think about the big expenses. There's rent, there's maybe a car loan, maybe for some people it's gonna be a student loan. Think about those top level things that are gonna have to be paid every single month. And then start doing some math. And then figure out how much money you have left over, right? You can get a sense for what kind of lifestyle you might be able to live, or you might be surprised and might say, hey, maybe I need to have a little more passive income on the side to kind of get by.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me into my next question, which is about student loans. And I know student loans are a very hot topic, and they're not sure what to do about them. So can you talk about how someone should be thinking about paying down their student loans, or at least start to think about paying down their student debt?
I think the first factor you gotta think about is you have 6 months after you graduate to start paying back those student loans. So remember that. Secondly, there's a balance between throwing all your money at it and living an extremely frugal lifestyle versus only making the minimum payment. There's a balance in there. I'd recommend finding whatever you're most comfortable with. For many people, that's an income-based repayment plan. Basically, if you have federal student loans, what you can do is input your income, and then they allow you to make a certain payment that usually falls in between the bare minimum and just throwing your whole paycheck at it. You don't want to spend your first 5 to 6, 10 years after college feeling like you can't do anything because you're just paying back those college expenses, no matter how large that is. So find the right repayment plan for you. If you got some extra income, if you can keep your lifestyle at the same level, put that extra funds, extra savings towards student loans, you might be surprised that by the time you get maybe in your late 20s, early 30s, you might have taken a big dent out of that or even paid it off.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great advice. So, let's say I just graduated. I'm starting to, pay down some of that student debt. I found that happy medium. I know the next step is to start building an emergency fund. So what is an emergency fund, number one, and how do I start to think about, building that out and really kind of building a padding?
It's something that I think a lot of graduates might overlook, especially right now in this low interest environment. The idea of having cash set aside accruing very little to no interest in most bank accounts, it's tough, right? It's something you absolutely have to do. And you don't realize you have to do it until you've been through an experience where you absolutely need that cash and you didn't have it. So I'm telling you, and I'm telling all your friends, every college senior out there, those future graduates, build up some cash. I can tell you that right now. It's typically an emergency fund is meant for obviously an emergency, anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of savings. And it's savings that's in cash. It's not savings that's in an investment account. It's not savings in an IRA or 401k. It's savings that is in cash in a savings account, maybe accruing some kind of interest, no matter what that is. Maybe you're applying for a new apartment and you need a few $1,000s, right? If you don't have that cash and if you don't have family maybe to support you in that sense, you might have to go put that money on a credit card or take out a student personal loan, things like that. That can set you back. All right, and it's this constant kind of downfall that can put you into maybe some debt. So join us next time. Thanks again for coming. My name's Tony from Wealthfront. Take care.